Hey, and welcome to your first set of ear tests. Here's how things are going to work. Basically, at this preliminary stage, I'm going to play you some sort of do. For example, maybe an A. Here's the sound of your do. After that, I'm either going to play do again, which represents that we're starting the exercise on do, or I'll play the third. In major examples, that means I'll play mi, and in minor examples, that means I'll play me. So here's your do. Here's your first note. That would be the mi. Here's your do. Here's your first note. That would be starting on do. We're going to start with these major examples. We're going to do 20 of them, and I'm going to be moving between keys, just so I can keep track of which number I'm on. We're going to be working in A, B, C, C sharp, and D, so groups of 5 ear tests, making up our initial 20. Here we go. We're going to jump in. This is your do. And this is your first note. Do you hear it's the same? That means we're starting on do. Here's your pattern. We're going to start very simple. I'll play each example twice. Now at this point I should mention you can pause the ear tests section at any point that you would like. You might want to sing it back to yourself. Maybe you're a very out of tune singer and that actually dooms you because you're singing it out of tune. So you can always sort of pull back a little bit in the video, replay it, but generally I'd recommend listen to it twice and then pause it and try to figure it out. You can even listen to it once, pause it, try to figure it out, and if you don't have it, play it, listen to the second take, and then take another attempt at it. So one more time we have, ready for the answer? It's do, re, mi. Keeping things simple to start. Your next example is B flat as your do. Here's your do. There's your first note. Do you hear it's different than the do? It's higher. We're starting on mi. It's going to sound like this. One more time. The answer is mi, re, do. Starting very simple. We're going to get gradually more complex as we go. B is our new do. Here's the sound of do. And here's your first note. Can you tell where I'm starting? I'm starting on mi. It's going to sound like this. One more time. You got it? It's mi, do, re, mi. Listen to that jump. Right there, I could just settle there. It would be done on do. But then we pull back up to our initial note. Sometimes it's even helpful to sing a little bit louder on the first note and the last note to see if they're the same or what their relationship might be. Figure out the beginning point and the end point, and then the journey of how to get there. So here I've accented the first and last note, and we can hear more clearly that they're the same. Next we're in C major, the people's key. Here's your do. Here's your first note. Starting on do, here's your first pattern. One more time. The answer is do, re, mi, do. Moving over to D major, here's your do. Here's your first note. I'm starting on mi. It's going to sound like this. One more time. Ready for the answer? Mi, re, mi, do. Starting up on that mi. There's your first 5. We're back down to A. Here's your do. Here's your first note. I'm going to be going through these a little bit quicker, and as we get into the more advanced courses throughout this series, this is going to become a more fluid process where the expectation is that you'll pause as needed, and you can always feel free to jump around to jumble up the answers or the examples a little bit. So, here's your do, here's your first note. One more time. Ready for the answer? This time there was a repeat. Mi, mi, re, do. Right? So we're starting up on that mi 2 times. Next example. Here's your do. Here's your first note. Starting on do. Here's the pattern. more time. The answer is do, do, re, mi. Again, this time we're repeating but the bottom note and then working our way up. Here's your do. Here's your first note. It's mi. Pattern's going to sound like this. Bit of a longer pattern, not by much. Okay, you ready for it? Mi, re, do, re, mi. Mi, re, do, re, mi. So listening to the contour, moving down, moving back up. Here's your next do. Here's your first note. Starting on do. It's going to sound like this. One more time. You got it? It's 3 do's to start. Do, 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 mi, re, do. So again, more repetition. Some people actually do get fooled by repeats, so if you're finding it difficult, that's okay. There's a whole group of people that hear repeats as difficult because we want it to be something more complex. But you can just settle as feeling it as simple as it needs to be. It's just a couple notes that are repeating, nothing too fancy. You'll get better at this as you go. We're continuing on. D is your next do. Here's the sound of do. There's your first note. It's going to sound like this. One more time. Okay, that time we had do, re, mi, mi, re, do. Repeating the top note as a sort of pivot point before we would come back down. There's 10 major examples. We got 10 more to go. Back down to A. Here's your do. And here's your first note. Starting on do. It's going to sound like this. One more time. We have do, re, mi. So, and by the way, there are hand signals for solfege. I'm just using a basic sort of karate chop. We're not going to be going over hand signals within this course. It's just another layer of complexity. We're trying to keep things simple, raw, bare bones, but if you've been in a choir or you want to take this stuff to the next level, I would recommend learning those different hand signals. They can help, especially if you're a visual learner. But for right now, again, we're just relying purely on the ears and trying to keep the course as informative as possible without overcomplicating things. Next up, we have B flat as our do, and here's your first note. Do you hear it? It's mi. It's going to sound like this. One more time. This time we have mi, re, mi, re, mi. To your next example, starting on B. Here's your do. Here's your first note. It's going to sound like this. One more time. So this time we just had do, re, do. C is your next do. Here's the sound of do. Here's your first note. Starting on mi. It's going to sound like this. One more time. You got it? Mi, do, re, mi, do. D is your next do. Here's your do. Here's your first note. We're starting on do. It's going to sound like this. One more time. I think a lot of people will guess do, do, re, re, but this is a skip. We have do, do, mi, mi, do, do, do. And you can pause and do some singing on the side. I've already mentioned that you can pause, but there's nothing wrong with going do, do, re, mi. Oh, through, like getting through the re to hear that mi, working your way up. So we had do, do, mi, mi, do, do, do. No re in that one. We're down to our final 5. Here's your A, which is your do, and here's your first note. Starting on mi. It's going to sound like this. One more time. Ready for the answer? Mi, re, mi, do. Sort of a trill. working back and forth between two notes. Next example, B flat is your do. Here's your do, and here's your first note. Answer is do. It's going to sound like this. One more time. Ready for the answer? It's do, re, mi, mi. Next example is in B major. Here's your do, here's your first note. Starting on mi. It's going to sound like this. One more time. The answer is mi, do, re, mi, do, re, mi. Two more examples to go. Here's your do. Here's your first note. Starting on do. It's going to sound like this. A little more complex now. Do you hear it? It's do, re, do, mi, re, mi. One more to go. Here's your do. And here's your first note. Starting on mi. It's going to sound like this. One more time. Ready for your final answer? It's going to be mi, re, mi, do, re, do. I'd also recommend for the singers out there, try singing these examples. You can, if you're not a singer, if you're very tone deaf, so to speak, you can still try to get through a bunch of this course, but it is recommended that you pair it with some singing. If you're able to sing it, then you're going to be able to think it a whole lot stronger. It's like being able to say a word. If you can say a word, can you think of it? Probably. But if you can't say it, you might be able to think it, but you might not. So try your best to sing through these examples. While I'm not going to be singing on every example, I do encourage you to sing on as many as you can to try to connect all the dots and really hear what's happening with this solfege. I hope you enjoyed your first round of ear tests, and I'll see you in the next class.